Our political correspondent, Iain Watson. Iain, morning. This has been something that's been rumbling along, hasn't it? And lots of questions have been asked. What's the response now to this suggestion, this hint?
Well, it does seem to be some shift in government attitude to this, because the vaccines minister not so long ago said that any idea of using these vaccine passports, as some people call them, or vaccine certifications, would be discriminatory, at least domestically. But the idea of having to produce something like this to get into a pub does seem to be picking up some kind of momentum. There is a review going on now, but the Prime Minister seemed to hint that he was very much in favour of this direction of travel, because he set out in some detail how the scheme might work. Firstly, that it wouldn't be introduced until after every adult had been offered a vaccine, so not before the end of July. Secondly, that you might not simply have to show vaccination proof, but potentially a negative test, or indeed an antibody test to show that you'd had the virus before and had built up some kind of resistance. But when it comes to resistance, there's a lot of it on Boris Johnson's own backbenches. One former minister said he was horrified by the idea. Another said it was unconservative. It even sounds like in their response that perhaps some of the pub landlords have had a few as well, because one owner of a big pub chain said the whole idea was bonkers and unworkable. There are some theatres, though, where social distancing is difficult, and they seem to be interested in this idea of people being able to perhaps sit pretty much side by side safely. And if you get a passport or a certificate like this, then that might allow them to reopen. So there's not universal condemnation, but there has been a very strong and negative reaction.
Iain, of course, also lorry drivers arriving into the UK, so far largely exempt from taking COVID tests if they're working, but this might be changed.
Yes, it looks like it's going that way, actually. Just a few days ago, when he was talking to a committee of senior MPs, the Prime Minister was asked about this, and he said basically that you have to weigh up taking new restrictions at the border with the disruption this would cause to trade. And it's certainly been felt so far that hauliers have to spend a long time in their cabs, don't really mix with people, come in and out of the country relatively quickly, that they could be exempt. But certainly the haulage industry now believes that tests will be coming soon. Interestingly, France has actually lifted their requirement for UK drivers going there to have tests. But of course, the Prime Minister himself said that a third wave could wash up on our shores, and there is pressure on him to try to take tougher action, especially as we're now finding out that these variants of concern, as the government calls them, aren't simply coming from, for example, Brazil or South Africa, but via some of the countries on the continent too.
Iain, thanks so much. Iain Watson there.
European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen